I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahawashi Bahasham Ha Rakakwadash, double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule great millstone while, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abal. This is Psalm 36, verse 1. As you see the subtitle, it says, Wickedness of Men and Loving Kindness of Yahweh, which is really not correct. All right. It's dealing with wicked men, not the wickedness of men. All right. And the loving kindness of our power to Israel. All right. So that shows you the blue letter goes off. It says in Psalm 36, verse 1, to the chief musician, a psalm or a song of David, the servant of Yahweh. The transgression of the wicked saith within my heart that there is no fear of our power before his eyes. And that's what the serpent told Eve in the garden. All right, which that serpent today is a race of people, the so-called white race. All right, and they're the devil the Bible speaks of. They rule the world, and that's why the world is in a wicked state. It says in Genesis 3, verse 1, and it says, now the serpent, which is pertaining to a person, not an actual snake. When you look up the meaning of this word, it's dealing with a treacherous person, was more subtle than any beast. So the so-called Caucasian is a cunning serpent of the field of the world, which Yahweh's power had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath our power said, ye shall not of eat of the tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, which is pertaining to that serpent, our power hath said, ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die, which today is that so-called white race. All right. And pretty much you're seeing them come down with that sword. All right. They're pretty much saying that you got to be with their beast system or die. Right. What Trump say, there will be no rehabilitation. And the serpent said unto the woman, ye shall not surely die. So the serpent, the so-called white man, is using fear, and he's telling the people, just like then, today, you won't die, just join up with me, all right, and everything will be all right. For our power doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And that's the deception he's using with that implantable microchip, right? Trying to make it sound like it's a good thing, all right? And when the woman saw that the tree, the Edomites, which were serpents back then, was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, like you see a lot of these Jake women, they think because Superman was so-called white or a so-called Caucasian, that if they marry a so-called white man, that it makes them pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, which now they have, colleges, they got all these different institutions. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, which this is what's happening right now with them sending out the military, right? They're trying to make you feel ashamed, afraid, right? So that you'll submit to their orders, which eventually they're going to order the world to take an implantable microchip. And if you take that here in America, you're going to eat the nuclear missiles with them. It says, and they sowed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So you have a bunch of false religions that Jake runs to because they're afraid, they're ashamed. It says in Psalm 36, verse 2, and Esau is going to use that for bringing forth that implantable microchip to convince you with deception. It says in Psalm 36, verse 2, for he flattereth himself in his own eyes until his iniquity be found to be hateful. Right? The wicked man, he flattereth himself in his own eyes until his iniquity be found to be hateful. And that's what's happening now, right? Then now that he's being found hateful, he's coming down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. Because why? Because just like Cain, right? He said, my judgment is too much for me to bear. But they're wicked, and they done wickedly, and they must pay that judgment. It says in verse 3, the words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. He had left off to be wise and to do good. He deviseth mischief upon his bed. He setteth himself in a way that is not good. He abhorreth not evil. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon 2. And verse 1, for the ungodly said, reasoning with themselves, but not aright. Our life is short and tedious, and in the death of a man there is no remedy, which they have no faith. Neither was there any man known to have returned from the grave, so they don't believe in Yahawashi. All right? So this is the way of the ungodly, the way they think. All right? They have no fear of the Lord. They have no hope. All right? They just devise wickedness on their bed because they're pretty much, YOLO. And that's what's happening in this world. Everybody's living on a YOLO spirit under the so-called white man, the red devil. And that's why they do things that are not correct, because they were taught by the so-called white race, and his false philosophies have destroyed them. But the elect are as virgins, meaning we never were joined to these false beliefs, because we've been preserved as a remnant, all right, and predestined to overcome, all right. In Psalm 36, verse 5, thy mercy, O Yahweh, is in the heavens, and thy faithfulness reacheth unto the clouds, which we have this truth that's going through the internet, all right, and it's being pushed throughout the whole world. Thy righteousness is like the great mountains. Thy judgments are a great deep. It's an ocean, right? Pretty much you could get people that drown in this because they can't understand these scriptures. All right, like Apostle Dahar says, when these Christians come up, take them to the deep waters and drown them, which is, this truth, because this truth destroys all these false idols, all these false religions, all these false philosophies. All right. It says, O Yahweh, thou persevereth man and beast. Right? So life is from Yahweh by Hashem Yahawashi, whether it's man or beast. How excellent is thy loving kindness, O power. Therefore, the sons of men put their trust under the shadows of thy wings, right? Let me, not translation comparison. I wanted to get the word God there. Yep, Elohim, O Elohim. Plural, rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. So this is the elect. How excellent is thy loving kindness, O Elohim. Right? The Lord sent the prophets because he loves Israel. Therefore, the sons of men put their trust under the shadow of wings, of thy wings. And I'll see how precious is your unfailing love, O Elohim. All humanity finds shelter in the shadow of your wings. And what are the wings? These are the instructions that are on earth, right? Which is going to lead to salvation for the Israelites. All right. So that wing represents the skirt of the garment, where we have our fringes and our ribbon of blue on the border, which it goes back to the truth, which comforts us until we are picked up by the chariots, which are also wings. All right. But we have comfort until then. And then we're going to be changed and be like Yahawashi when Yahawashi returns. And he's coming on top of wings. Psalm 36:8. They shall be abundantly satisfied with the fatness of thy house, and thou shalt make them drink of the river of thy pleasures, for with thee is the fountain of life. In thy light shall we see light. So it tells you in Proverbs, what is it, 11? It's not Proverbs 11. I mean, 5. Proverbs 11, I think you get 5. Oh, let's see. Verse 30, it says, the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he that winneth souls is wise. And this is why Yahawashi told us to let our light so shine, so that men, Israelite men, could see our good works and glorify our Father Yahweh and his Son Yahawashi, which are in heaven. It says in Matthew 5, which this would be Yahawashi speaking, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. All right. So it says in verse 10, O continue thy loving kindness unto them that know thee, and thy righteousness to the upright in heart, which the upright in heart is talking about the elect of Israel, which have faith. All right. Which is Hebrews 11. I'll start at 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. All right, so we're hoping to escape the second death. The second death is the nuclear destruction of America. All right, and it's going to happen after they make the implantable microchip, the mark of the beast, mandatory for buying and selling. All right. Now we're hoping for salvation, though it's not seen yet. All right. We're hoping to be saved from it, from the second death, which is the judgment that will be poured out upon the wicked's kingdom and their military, which will be gathered in the valley of Jehoshaphat. So there will be 2 great judgments, the greatest being America and the land of Israel, which you know is from Turkey to Yemen. It says in Hebrews 11, verse 6, but without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to our power must believe that he is, and that's only given to the Israelite, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. But salvation is only for the Israelite. It says in Psalm 36:11, let not the foot of pride come against me, which we see the wicked, they're trying to come in as a flood. And let not the hand of the wicked remove me, because they're trying to remove us by putting us to death. to cause a famine of the word, which the Lord is doing it, but he's using Esau to do it. So he's going to hold his sword back for our sake. All right, 2 Ezra 15:5, it says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction," which that sword is the so-called white race, and they're going to cause a famine, death, and destruction. It says in verse 4, "For all the unfaithful Israelites shall die in their unfaithfulness." Here in America, the unfaithful Israelite that rejects this truth, they're going to be destroyed with the sword and their destruction. Whether it's in the famine, or you catch a pestilence, or whatever plague comes upon you, because the Lord said he's sending plagues upon the world. All right? And one of them I've noticed that's an increase in this time is wild beasts. Yesterday I seen a video of a bobcat, right? Long legs. It was not as big as a mountain lion, but it could do much damage with the tools that the Lord, has given it as a spirit of vengeance. It was walking through the city late at night. It says, "For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled," talking about the wicked. All right. So the wicked are going to be destroyed in their wickedness, and they're trying to take as many Israelites as they can with them, which it's already predestined. They're allowed to take 2/3, for they have not repented, but they're going to fuck around and touch an elect. All right. And they're going to touch a few elect men. All right. By putting them to death because we rejected the chip. And this is going to bring the hammer down on Edom, the so-called white man, the red devil the Bible speaks of. It's going to cause Yahawashi to come down. It says in verse 12, "There are the workers of iniquity fallen. They are cast down and shall not be able to rise." Why? Because the Lord is pretty much rising against them. Isaiah 14:21. It says, "Prepare slaughter for his sons for the iniquity of their fathers." And we're preparing you by telling you, this is why you're building bunkers, "that they do not rise nor possess the land nor fill the face of the world with cities. Because look what you've done to the earth, so the Lord is going to make you extinct. For I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith Yahweh," which he's talking about the Edomite, the so-called Caucasian. He's going to enslave you under the Israelites, destroy your kingdom, and after 1,000 years of brutal slavery for paying you back, which it's a righteous thing with our God to pay you back for what you've done unto us. One of the titles of our power, Yahweh, is that he is a just God, a just power. And so this word of you going into slavery will be fulfilled. It's manifest destiny. It says, "I will also make it a possession for the bittern and pools of water." He's going to hit this place with the nuclear missiles, using the allies and enemies of America. The heart of the king is in their hand, is in the hand of the Lord, and he does as he wills with it, right? So he's going to use your allies and your enemies, Esau, and he's going to have them shoot nuclear missiles on your kingdom. "And I will sweep it with the besom of destruction, saith Yahweh of hosts," which Yahweh is going to send his son Yahawashi with the hosts of heaven, and that is when this thing will happen. After you make that implantable microchip mandatory for buying and selling, and you try to murder the elect, that is when your end will come, and you'll pay back what you have done through your blood being shed, and your life being took Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abababal.